Thom Hartmann here on the best of the rest of economic and labor news. You need to know this. Last week, the 30-year war on unions scored another victory, and Wisconsin became the 25th right-to-work-for-less state in our country. In addition to being bad news for unions in one more state, that new law has broad social and political implications as well. Thanks to Governor Scott Walker, half of our nation have enacted laws that make it harder for workers to stand up to corporate power and harder for families to bring home a living wage. And if Republicans have their way, there will be even more right-to-work-for-less states in the very near future. Anti-union legislation is currently being considered in Missouri, Indiana, and Nevada, and Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner unilaterally dealt a blow to public unions in his state. And don't forget about the anti-worker laws that took effect in Michigan, Ohio, and other states over the past few years. 3 decades of Reaganomics have paved the way for this new era of anti-union policies, and we, the people, will be left dealing with the political, economic, and social effects. Over the last century, labor unions gave us the power to take on the corporate elite and implement landmark legislation on everything from child labor laws to voting rights. By standing together, workers were able to demand fair wages and safe working conditions, and they were able to help people they believed in get elected. But about 3 decades ago, Republican lawmakers decided to stand with corporations instead of people, and they began dismantling nearly 100 years of progress. That attack on labor translated into stagnant wages, the loss of voting rights, and the rise of corporate power. And if we don't fight back, it could be another 100 years before we return to progress. These lawmakers have proven that they won't listen and that they don't care what the American people think. It's time to form new unions, even in right-to-work-for-less states, and to use the power of the people to take back our country from the corporate elite once and for all. California has a plan to make housing more affordable for many low-income residents in that state. Democrat Tony Atkins, the California Assembly Speaker, wants to charge a $75 fee on certain real estate filings and use that money for affordable housing development projects. The fee would have very little impact on the cost of purchasing real estate, but it could go a long way toward helping those who can't afford California's rising housing prices. 9 other states fund housing trusts with fees on real estate documents, and similar proposals have nearly passed twice in California. The only opposition comes from realtors groups who say the fees will increase closing costs. But it's only logical to ask those who can afford new homes to contribute a small amount to help out their neighbors. If you can afford a new home, chipping in a few dollars to help those in need, it's not too much to ask. In the richest country on earth, no one should be left out on the street. And this small fee could make a big difference to low-income Americans in California. While other states continue to expand Medicaid, Arizona wants to kick 500,000 people out of the program. Earlier this month, Republican Governor Doug Ducey approved legislation to tighten Medicaid eligibility requirements in his state. That new legislation proposes kicking people out of the program if they've been enrolled for 5 years and requiring that they be employed to be eligible. Even former Governor Jan Brewer rejected the extreme proposal, saying that leaving so many people uninsured would force hospitals to pick up the tab and push Arizona's healthcare system to the breaking point. Governor Ducey, however, says that the new plan will ensure that Arizona has a responsible Medicaid program that protects taxpayers and provides care to those who need it the most. Right. Apparently, no one ever needs more than 5 years of care, and no one ever needs health care when they're unemployed. These requirements are simply un-American, and Arizona's new governor should be ashamed. If you want to join the fight against today's issues like racial discrimination and wealth inequality, there's a new movement that you may want to consider. The new Poor People's Campaign is a diverse coalition of advocacy groups and activists who are teaming up to tackle the injustices of our time. According to the campaign's website, we live in a time of profound crisis, a time where virtually everywhere, nearly all systems and institutions fundamental to society, political, economic, social, and religious, at best fail to meet people's needs and at worst cause widespread suffering. End of quote. So they are joining forces to fight the interconnected issues that cause and perpetuate failures in our society. The new Poor People's Campaign wants people to get involved and work together to fight for change. They say, quote, to build such a campaign, we need to unite. We need to strengthen our connections and sharpen our understanding of the problems we face, end quote. To find out how you can get involved, check out poorpeoplescampaign.org. And finally, danger, Will Robinson. robots could put half of us out of work within 2 decades. According to a recent article over at redorbit.com, a new machine learning algorithm analyzed statistics from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and found that almost half of American jobs could be done by machines within the next 20 years. And according to Michael Osborne of Oxford University, it will leave us with much more time for fundamentally human tasks like art and social work. However, previous experts made similar predictions about our leisure time in past decades, but their predictions didn't quite pan out. Our productivity rate has increased so much that we should be able to take more time for non-work activities. But so far, it's only resulted in pumping out more products that corporations can turn into profit. Maybe this time the experts will be right, and we'll finally get that leisure society that we heard about decades ago. I'm sure we'd all like some extra creative time and a robot to finish all those boring tasks. And that's the way it is for the week of March 16th, 2015. I'm Thom Hartmann on the Economic and Labor News.